Welcome back to Game Galaxy, and today I'm talking about a very special and unique game called Last Day of June. Last Day of June is an extremely emotional puzzle adventure game that deals with love and loss. And for any longtime viewers of the show, you know I love these emotional type stories like To the Moon and A Bird's Story, and Last Day of June definitely had me in tears. And I'm very happy at this current era of gaming because we're seeing a vast variety of different stories and a vast variety of different art styles. And Last Day of June definitely has a very unique art style. It's kind of like an oil painting with a touch of Pixar animation. Now, the title Last Day of June doesn't pertain to the physical last day in the month of June, but rather the main character's wife, whose name is June's last day. So I'm not going to give any spoilers in this review, but I will tell you the setup of the game. The game starts with the happy couple of Carl and June spending an afternoon together on a short pier. In this time, a lot of sweet interactions happen between them that creates the emotional bond for the player. The entire story is told through gestures and mumble speak in a way similar to The Sims, so there isn't any discernible dialogue, but it isn't needed at all. Off in the distance, a storm starts to brew, which causes the couple to get up and head back to their car, and it's not revealed immediately in the opening sequence, but what happens on their way home is that they get into a car accident, which kills June and leaves Carl crippled in a wheelchair. Last Day of June really explores the isolating, clawing, depressing pain of losing a loved one. After the intro scene, the player awakes late at night and immediately the mood of the whole house has shifted. The colorful joy that was there just earlier is now completely vacant, and at times the game can be a bit creepy, but remains a slow-burning emotional roller coaster mixed with a bit of mystery. Last Day of June explores the idea of the butterfly effect, where one decision can affect many different outcomes, or a different decision would affect a completely different set of outcomes, and that's what you'll be doing in this game. Ultimately, Carl will find himself in a room with his wife's paintings that he's had covered up, and through interacting with them, he'll time travel in a sense and assume the lives of the other people in his small town, or imagine if they had done something different on that day, perhaps your wife may not have died. So there's a little bit of player interpretation here if this is actually just all going on in his head where he's contemplating different outcomes, or if by some chance he's getting some magical chance to go back and change the past. Now, because of the ending of this game, which I'm not going to share, personally I choose to believe and interpret Carl got a magical way to change the past in a way. So but again, it's all up to interpretation of the player, and I don't want to sway you one way or another, but I choose to believe that it was happening as it happened. Each time that you go back and assume the role of one of the town's characters, you'll change something about their day, but that change may change how a different character reacts, and thus the accident still continues to happen. So there's going to be a little bit of a Groundhog Day experience where you're continually going back and doing different things with different people to create different combinations to ultimately make sure that that accident doesn't happen. Now, I can't really say much more than this, and I know you might be watching saying, well, this isn't much of a review, but so much of this has to be experienced firsthand in the emotion, and I can't really put it into words. I definitely feel like the stages of grief are represented well in this game. I think, there's sadness, denial, absolute depression, anger, it's all there. And there's zero dialogue. There is the mumble speaking where people are like, but I think that works very well because you're able to just project your own life into the story. And that's what I did. And I think that's what made it so emotional. I imagine this story being about myself and my wife. And, the art and the music and everything about it is just so beautiful. And the emotion ebbs and flows. There's definitely a cry point where the whole thing is a slow burn, but there's a cry point, and then there's, you think that's the height. Then there's like what I would call maybe this one point where the whole story just clicks, and I just literally said out loud, I was like, oh my gosh, and I got goosebumps. And as I'm talking about it, I get goosebumps right now. I was just like, oh my gosh, and it'll just give your body shivers. And then there's a post-credit scene that just welled up the tears again, and I was in tears clapping. I literally was clapping in my living room at just how wonderful this ending was and how sweet, and it'll just grip your heart. So I definitely recommend Last Day of June to anybody who likes, good stories or emotional stories and adventure games. But, if anything that this game really does is that it reminds you how fragile life is and how important it is to cherish the ones that you love. And that's what it definitely did for me. And I really think it's a great game and a definite work of art, but it is going to grip your heart and squeeze the life out of it. So be caution thing. But please, it is absolutely beautiful. They did a great job. So thank you so much for watching if you did. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future, and I'll see you next time.